No piercings required here on the Audio Hoo-Mons, but we do require your lobes to be in the open and upright position so you can hear this great show. I'm Alex. This is
Brian.
And you are listening to Audio Hoo-Mons, the premier Star Trek Deep Space Nine fan podcast. This is where two dudes, one being Brian, who knew about the show and caught it when he could, but he was on deployment in the military back in the day, and he didn't really get to eat, sleep, and drink it like Alex, did. Now we're watching it again, and we're talking about it from the perspective of a newbie and a veteran guy. And we're so thrilled you're back with us on this episode. We don't want to miss a thing when this episode begins because we're going to be talking about Armageddon game.
Armageddon, yes.
In just a moment. Hey, Brian, real quickly, I was just going to say that got some nice download action off of our past two episodes, the Red Alert episodes discussing what we left behind, the Star Trek Deep Space Nine official documentary.
Right, a brief hiatus from the episode.
Kind of nice to be freed from having to discuss an episode. Not that there's anything wrong with having to discuss an episode, but it was just kind of nice to talk about something fresh and new, even though that fresh and new thing was all about old things.
You're right, and it's a bit of a mid-season break, right? Because we're at or past the halfway point, I think, aren't we?
Oh my gosh, are we there really? I mean, we're on. This is episode second season 13, so we are. My God, you nailed it. We are on the halfway mark for season 2. You're always so good with this stuff. Yeah, and it's exciting. We're gonna get a Rick Colby directed episode, story by Morgan Gendel. Teleplay with Morgan and Ira Stephen Bear and James Crocker. We're going to get to that in just a moment. I wanted to just take a quick moment. You know, we try not to wear the listeners out every time saying, please visit us on Facebook, please tweet us, please write us a review, please give us your money, please buy a t-shirt. Although, you really ought to look at the t-shirts and the mugs and the travel cups and the bags. I mean, you got to see this logo that Brian designed, man. I mean, you got to get a piece of the Mox. You know, you gotta.
Yes, and it will be the envy of any, Trek group. Would just absolutely be envious of.
Well, was it Sean and Jeff who we interviewed for the Deep Space Nine in Kansas City for the documentary? As soon as they saw my shirt, they were just laughing and going, "Oh my God, I get one of those!"
That was the icebreaker. Yeah.
If you're looking at it and going, these are pricey. Now we understand that like the cheapest T-shirt is like $16 something like that. That's as low as it goes, at least for now. We're looking for other places to put our merch that might be a little cheaper, but we don't want to give you crap merchandise that you don't want to wear. And I don't really like the cheap T-shirts because they're scratchy and they don't seem to age well in the washer. So the tri-blend that you and I wear, that was like 20 something bucks. But I want to tell you guys something though. Look, if you're like, I don't want to do that, or that's a lot of money, and I get that because money's tight everywhere, and money's too tight to mention. But I will say this. I have a special deal for you, and I've put that in the comments section, typically under every time I post something about new gear, and that's your first order, you save $10 with my code. So you could probably get a shirt and a mug and maybe some stickers and still save $10 on it. So it kind of works out where you'll basically get one of those items almost free.
Sure. Or find a friend. You can always. Yeah. It's a great giftable as well.
Yeah, and gift season's just 6-7 months away. But remember,
some people have birthdays or
some people do. I hear most people do.
Yeah, the ones that don't. Yeah.
Some people have birthday. I love that. So we've said this before. We're not doing this for our egos. If you buy a shirt, not only does it promote the show and give you an opportunity to kind of talk about it, even if you want to talk about it ironically with your friends going, yeah, it's this crappy podcast I listen to, but what the hell? I don't care what you say about it. But the point is we get a piece of the profits of that, and that helps us pay to keep the show hosted and for a little bit of advertising here and there and to develop new things and some equipment, things like that for when these microphones finally wear out and that kind of stuff. So the link is in the show notes. I'll say no more about that.
Very good.
But I want to do one last thing.
Okay.
You remember when we gave away our first prize? It was to Tim from Florida, and he got the autographed Armin Shimmerman as Quark photo, although it was not autographed.
It was autographed by us.
By us. But hey, and we haven't heard from Tim since. I don't know if he's still following.
He was offended. No.
But we'd love to give out another prize, and we've got one. And by the way, there's two things. You can send us stuff for the prize vault out of your collection you want to get rid of, like our good friend Mike Finney. Who sent us a great book that we will probably re-gift to one of you lucky winners soon. But we have another gift, and we're not going to say what it is, but here's what you got to do to be eligible to win. We've told you before, on your smartphone, record a message, like a 30-second, 45-second message, your first name, where you live, and blah, blah, blah. Well, here's what we want you to do. If you want to be eligible for this prize, we're not going to just give it to anybody on the Facebook page. We're going to be like, you got to want it. So what you got to do, if you want to be eligible for this prize, which could have a value exceeding $5, it'll be mailed to you, the winner, who we're going to look to get 4 or 5 people, hopefully 5 people, to get on their smartphone, record a message, 30-second message, their name, where they're from, and just say what your favorite episode of DS9 is, and send it our way, and we'll use it on the show. And Brian and I will pick, if they're all kind of the same, we'll just draw a number out of a hat. But if one of them's like exceedingly funny or tickles us the most, we'll pick that person, and we will get a hold of you through the Facebook page, and we will send you the gift. It's a Trek related gift. I'm holding it actually right now. It's right here. Brian sees it. We're not going to tell you what it is. It's something I can mail to you. And we
will pay postage as well.
You don't have to pay anything. You just, that's
this is a gift, a free gift for being a one of our treasured fans.
Treasured, that is the truth. And if you want to get in on sending us something for the prize vault, by the way, we put this on the About page on the Facebook page all the time, but here's our P.O. Box. If you want to send us something for the prize vault, simply send it to Audio Hoo-Mons, care of AGPR, P.O. Box 902119, Kansas City, Missouri 64190. And just like Mike Finney did. I love that drop in. I that's right out of the original series. If you don't know what that is, folks, get on the Facebook page and tell us, and we'll tell you what that is sometime. But that's for our good friend Mike Finney, friend of the show, who has not only sent us a great prize to give away, but he's supported us financially here and there when he could, and he's always
so active on social media, liking and retweeting and sharing.
But right. You know what he also does? Sometimes he just responds to posts and says sweet things. It makes us feel good.
That is nice. That is nice.
I like that guy a lot. I don't even know that guy, and I like that guy a lot. We're gonna have to have him on the show if he wants to someday. We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Right,
that'd be a lot of fun.
That's assuming though we survive Armageddon game.
Yes, quite an interesting episode. I think we start out on a space station circling a planet. I can't remember the name of the planet. Do you?
They're aboard.
Alex,
they're actually aboard a Talani cruiser.
Okay.
And they're helping the Talani and the Kellerans eliminate their stockpile of harvesters.
Harvesters, which are a biogenetic weapon. And so they've Miles and Dr. Bashir are on this vessel, and they're trying to find ways to completely dismantle these harvesters. And the first thing that really struck me, Alex, you think about things that are going on in modern time, and if they continue to progress the way the path they're on, then we may face a similar problem as the Talani face. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the progress of the man bun. Their hair. I mean, we're on that path, Alex. I'm telling you, if we don't do something to stop.
I don't think you're in danger of the man bun, my friend.
I am not.
And I frankly think I'm not either. But it's a point well made. I actually thought that there might be an issue with somebody having something about Mary hair, but but I think it's one of them. I think one of the races has the man bun gone completely horribly wrong.
That's 400 years of man bun progress.
There, right, and then the other ones have like the kind of the something about Mary hair sticking out of odd angles.
Okay, so just a strange piece of trivia. as we make fun of them mercilessly, this episode was actually nominated for an Emmy for hairstyling. I swear to you, it is true.
Was that a slow year? I just...
I guess. But anyway, yeah, that's the truth.
It is the truth, and the deadly biomechanical gene disruptors got nothing on the hairstylist here. It's the invasion of the Aquanet. So
yeah, okay. So we digress as oft we do. So after a week, trial number whatever 1060 that
right, they successfully turned the barbecue Pringles into the sour cream and onion Pringles.
Into the sour cream and onion.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, and I'm assuming someone with red-green colored blindness has no idea what we're talking about, that they just watched the episode. So it turns from red to green, just giving you that nice visual indicator that that things are all good now. And so they start destroying all the vessels, because
you just can't stop once you pop.
Exactly. So they're destroying all these things, and then they're down to the last vessel. They pop it down, and then some terrorists hop onto the vessel and start
shooting up the joint. Yeah,
they're just trying to kill
Miles.
Literally
springs
kill
into
everyone.
action as best he can. Jeez,
as does Bashir.
He hides well at first. They both hide really well.
Yes.
But Miles does a roll. He managed to get a gun and kind of does this really... I can see why Colm Meaney didn't do a lot of his own stunts. He's just about as graceful as a sack of potatoes. But
yeah.
We're not making fun. We are making fun, but we don't mean
we are just a little bit. Yeah. But Bashir gets a hold of a weapon as well. Actually fights away a weapon that was supposed to shoot Miles, ends up hitting the machine that was destroying the
Pringles,
the harvester destroyer.
Right.
Unfortunately, it hadn't destroyed that last can.
Right.
There were some crumbs left.
Yes.
And something drips onto Miles. So they try to beam off back onto their runabout. They're not able to do that. Everything's the communications are being disrupted. So instead, they're able to beam down to the surface. So they beam down to the surface, and they're there hiding out for a bit. We don't know what's going on at this point.
Right.
But shortly afterward, we're back on Deep Space Nine, and the Talani communicate with Captain Sisko and let him know that they died. There was some sort of malfunction. They triggered some security device that creates some kind of radiation burst that completely evaporates people instantly. And of course they have a little, USB with the video tracking on it, and sure enough, they show them. They're sitting there, and 1 second, something seems to be going wrong, and then poof, they're evaporated. So now Sisko has the unenviable task of notifying next of kin. Now, before we get too much further, I did want to say, I don't want to talk about notifying next of kin. Thank God, in my military service, I was never required to do that. However, I want to call bullshit just a little bit.
Oh, really? Why?
So these harvesters, this biogenetic weapon, it drips on you, and how long does it take for you to die? At least a couple days, it seems like 2-3 days. So during that time, you're now able to continue to fight and then you die. Don't you think that a more dangerous weapon is this apparent radiation weapon that completely evaporates you instantaneously? Wouldn't that be a technology you would want to frickin' get rid of before these harvesters? I mean,
Yeah.
so if you could get rid of chemical weapons
Yeah.
or the nuclear bomb, which would you choose first? If you could eliminate from the planet all
Is this a rhetorical
ability to
question,
make
or
a weapon. It's a semi-rhetorical question. It just speaks to it. It just seems like a strange choice that they would have. They're focused on these bioweapons, but still have readily available technology to just evaporate people instantly.
well, but the average phaser can evaporate people instantly. If you outlaw phasers, only outlaws will have phasers.
Yeah,
You can pry it out of my cold, dead man bun if you wish. That's going to be a new show, by the way. Man Bun PR.
Yes. The only thing to stop a bad guy with a phaser is a good guy with a phaser.
With a phaser. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Anyway. Okay. So they're down on the planet. People at DS9 assume that they're dead. So they're down on the planet, and they're divvying up the rations. They find this communication.
You mean O'Brien and Bashir are
correct
on the planet? Okay, yeah. I just wanted to clarify.
They're down on the planet. Bashir is about to open up a thing of rations.
He's going to open a can.
O'Brien stops him,
right, knowing
that a lot of those things in wartime are booby trapped, and so he scans it, makes sure it's safe. They open it up, and then Miles isn't hungry, which is a little strange. I mean, he's had obviously I guess Talani food, maybe not to his liking taste wise, right, but he's also wise enough to know that you have to keep your energy up. So you would think he would.
He likes survival rations, but then he says Federation ones, not
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's what he says. I've had too much of this tandoori chicken or Tulani chicken or whatever. That's probably what it was. He probably spent an hour in the waste extraction room dealing with that Tulani chicken.
Yes.
He's just like, oh, Keiko!
Okay, so the comedy stylings of Alex and Brian.
Sorry. All right, sorry. Let's get on with it.
Oh, okay. So, well, it's at this point that, and I think Miles is trying to starts trying to fix a communication device,
right,
and he grabs a coat. He's cold, and that's when Bashir realizes he's sick. So he scans. Bashir scans Miles and realizes he's indeed, even though he didn't get killed on the Talani vessel, he's got the ills. He's got the harvester ills.
He's got the harvester blues, man.
Yeah, and so he's dying. It's, I guess, apparently it's slowly, doing something to his genetic makeup, and he's going to die soon. How many times does in the series? How many times does Miles have one of these near-death experiences?
The misery that is the life of Miles Edward O'Brien is like at least a dozen episodes. There's a graphic I found. I posted it recently on Twitter, and it's just the guy. But I think there was a joke in the writers' room later, like let's torture Miles O'Brien this week with something new. He goes.
He's like always the red shirt guy.
Always, but he's like the red shirt guy who lives. He's like, you know what I mean? He's just like
zombie.
Yeah. At least in the original series, they had the decency to let the red shirt guys die and suffer and die. Right. But no, he suffers and lives. And we don't just mean being married.
Yeah, there is some interesting banter down on the planet. Miles, his health starts deteriorating, so he now he can't see, so he has to talk Bashir through repairing this communication device.
Which is fortunate that Julian had his Federation Engineering extension courses back at the academy.
Yes. That's right. I mean, fortunate for both of them, I think that O'Brien has apparently, a fairly photographic memory of things and just how they work, and very patient, which is maybe a little uncharacteristic, but I guess since his life depended on it, very patient, walking through all the steps required
Right.
to make this thing
Calling
work.
him
Yeah.
Julian, by the way, quite a bit in this episode.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't. Yeah, and there's some personal talk about what Dr. Bashir gave up, the love of his life, in order to stay in Starfleet. A little back and forth about the importance of marriage, and how much, despite differences, how much Miles and Keiko get along, and the adventure that is married life. I related closely to that. Meanwhile, back at Deep Space Nine, Sisko has to tell Keiko
Yeah.
about the loss of her husband. She the way she takes it,
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting probably a little more emotion, but she was, and maybe after the the Cardassian Wars, or were they married during that time in his career?
You remember they got married on the Enterprise.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
TNG,
So,
yeah.
but he's been, back in dangerous situations often. So it's
Right.
not like it's completely unexpected, but as I don't think any spouse truly expects it. But she stoically wants to review the tapes. She wants to see her husband die. I found that a little bit strange. I don't know anyone who would want to see that. That
seemed
seemed
a
little peculiar,
Yeah.
and peculiar of the Federation to release that type of video to a spouse. That just doesn't seem that would normally occur. But regardless, she gets the tape, she reviews it, she finds out, she notices that he's drinking coffee at 3:30 in the afternoon, and
Which he does not
he
do.
knows himself well. She is assured herself that this must be an altered tape. One interesting scene is where Dax and Kira are talking about Julian, and how he had given Dax his personal diaries, and she hadn't bothered to read them.
Well, do you blame her? I mean,
I don't know. I would think if someone shared something that personal, that you would at least have the decency to either give it back or read it.
well,
One of
she
the
was
two.
probably eventually going to.
She was, yeah, I'm sure she was. She thought she was planning to, but it just seemed awkward. It reminded me. So, a sad story. You need to put some violins in the background. When I was stationed in Germany about this time, I was actually married at the time, and as I was sent to Germany, I was actually expecting to just be in a National Guard unit, but I was deployed to Germany unexpectedly, and it was unexpected to my wife at the time, and she was none too pleased with the entire situation. And but to try to keep the home fires burning, I sent her a letter daily.
Wow.
When I was there, I've usually something small, postcard or just a short letter. Hey, I miss you. I'm thinking about you. Think about this, and sent them to her. When I returned from deployment, I discovered that vast majority of the letters were returned to me unopened. They were just all handed to me. So,
Like it was your fault you got deployed? Really? Oh,
But kind of what I thought of when
that's not right.
between Dax and Bashir. So the fact that they never really have a romantic relationship is probably for the best. I'll just put it that way.
Wow, that's
So,
heavy,
anyway.
man. I don't think I fully knew that story. Maybe I did, but I didn't remember that.
Yeah. So
Sorry, man. That's
sorry,
rough.
just opening old wounds. That's
No,
okay.
but that's what this
episode,
that's what this show is about, my friend.
right? Yeah, there you go.
It's what we left behind. That's what we're discussing here.
Yeah, interesting. So
Interesting. Yeah. So fast forward.
fast forward.
There's-
So here we are.
The ambassador, they go to DS9 to give their condolences and all that. They did that already, but then Miles and Julian are down there and they're starting to figure some shiz out. Like, maybe we can survive just long enough till they find us. And then what happens?
Well, now
The ambassador.
Cisco and Dax have to go retrieve the runabout.
Right. The Ganges? Was that the Ganges?
The Ganges. So they'll use that because they had talked to Keiko. They'll use that as an opportunity to explore and see if something's amiss. And so they're now in orbit.
And they find an erase log in the Ganges computer that reveals that the transport request was made 3 minutes after the failsafe device went off, proving they were still alive at the time. So Keiko was right.
Right.
And
then down on the
O'Brien's
planet,
hanging on by the skin of his teeth. Go ahead. Sorry.
right. Yeah. So down on the planet, they finally get the communication device. And all along, they had thought their belief was that you had the Talani and what were the other
Kelleran, I think.
the Kelleran, yes. I thought that the Kelleran were trying to prolong the war or
Right.
use this as a way to win the war.
Right.
However, once they communicate to the Talani, both show up and they discover that not only were they trying to destroy the harvesters, they were trying to destroy everyone who had any contact or possible knowledge of the harvesters, including Miles and Julian.
Right.
So they're getting ready to kill them, and Miles stalls by saying, "Hey, I want to die
On my feet.
on my feet," and so he,
As we all should, right?
yes,
Better
yes.
to die on our feet than to live
As-
on our knees.
As a proud military person, he wants to die with pride. He stands up, and no sooner do they get stood up and ready to be executed, they get beamed onto which vessel was that? The Ganges or the?
Well, no, they brought another runabout. It's another runabout because the Ganges was the one that Bashir and O'Brien had in orbit, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know which ship they took another. It's a river.
It's an
River
Asian
Phoenix
river.
or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So they get beamed onto the vessel. The Talani cruiser obviously has them outmanned and starts blocking their transmissions. They use this as an opportunity to beam undetected onto the Ganges, and they remotely pilot the other vessel, destroy that vessel, thinking that all the Federation or the Deep Space Nine crew is on board, but they were secretly on the other vessel getting the heck out of Dodge.
And their whole point is they're killing everybody is that they explain that part of they want the destruction of the information. Anybody who
Correct.
knows about this stuff has to die.
Right.
Is their
right.
thinking, which is faulty because don't they know about it too?
They do.
Yeah.
And when they came and shot up the vessel, there was one can that wasn't completely destroyed.
Yeah.
But the thing that destroys it was destroyed. So they're back to square one, literally.
And
really.
you know how that is. And if you've got one Pringle, you're going to want more.
It's never enough.
It's never enough. Man.
Once you pop, you can't
You
stop,
can't-
man.
You just can't stop. So everybody gets back. Bashir and O'Brien, they get back.
Yep.
They're good. They're better friends now.
They are.
Although O'Brien has to subtly nudge Bashir into giving him some privacy when Keiko's there.
And and I think he still wants to, keep. Yeah, I think just warrant officers or what's his official
He's a chief petty officer. He's a
chief
chief,
petty
but
officer.
same
Yeah,
thing.
so
You were in the army, so that's the same thing.
the relationship between them and commissioned officers. There's always, even if you're buddies, you have to kind of pretend like there's this line that the warrants, the chiefs petties, they earn their stripes, where officers
Yeah, I work for a living.
officers
Blah,
get
blah, blah.
appointed, yeah, all that kind of stuff. So I think there was some of that putting on airs of the traditional relationship, but and then there may have also been a bit of realization of, oh my God, this guy now wants to be my friend, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for that at this point in my career, to have some young medical officer be be my buddy.
Right.
So, and then there's the part that I hated the most, which is they ended it like an episode of MASH or Magnum, or where it was he asked for a cup of coffee, and Keiko says, I didn't know you drank coffee in the afternoon. You never drink coffee in the afternoon. And he's like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. You don't know me.
And then she has a look like, oh shit.
Like, oh.
I thought that was cute. I guess I didn't hate that. I thought it was cute.
Corny.
Well, it was corny, but it was cute.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the episode.
Yeah. So a couple of notes. Originally, this script was supposed to have Dax instead of O'Brien. That didn't happen, which I'm kind of glad, because I think the relationship between O'Brien and Bashir is more sexy and interesting. I don't mean sexual, but I think it's just more interesting than the relationship between Bashir and Jadzia Dax.
Yeah.
Just real quickly, I'm scanning some notes. Michael Piller changed the original script idea to the plot. He had composed a new teleplay with instructions to make it like a chase movie, but of course they didn't really have the budget to go to a lot of places in the sets and stuff like that, so I didn't do that. Alexander Siddig, who played Bashir, considers this an important episode for Bashir and his friendship with O'Brien, which you and I agree with.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is the first real building block of the building that will be the friendship of these two guys. And it occurs to me, particularly with what we left behind and the discussions of how Andy Robinson, who played Garak, said that basically he wanted Garak to find Bashir sexually attractive, and like Garak was bi, and he would like very much to have had a fling with the doctor. And it's funny because there's a platonic love that grows between Bashir and O'Brien.
Sure.
And you'll see it later. We'll get into this much deeper, but it's like there's times when O'Brien would rather spend time with Bashir than his own wife.
Oh
yeah,
sure.
Which, good friends, best friends, this can happen.
Absolutely, and that's not it takes nothing away from the strength of the marriage.
No.
It's just there are certain times and certain things that close same-sex friends provide a sounding board and just a respect and an understanding that you can't have in a marriage.
And I think that actually makes you better in your marriage if you have a friend who you can vent to or ask questions about, not specifically going, my wife does this, it drives me crazy, or my husband does this, but it's just like vent about just things in general, or you can hear about other marriages and get a perspective, and that helps you be a better partner to your wife or your husband by going to your same-sex friend, or it doesn't have to be a same-sex friend, I guess, although I think there's some spouses don't really care for their mate to have a same-sex or an opposite-sex friend that's close. Right. I'm pretty lucky. My wife's pretty tolerant of me having opposite-sex friends. But the point I was trying to get at about this, though, was that Bashir's like this magnet, I mean, Garak digs him, O'Brien digs him. Later on, we find out that another iteration of Dax digs him. I mean, this guy who started out the first season and a half or two being kind of immensely awkward and intensely dislikable by a lot of people. I didn't like him at first. I remember that. I remember thinking, he tries too hard.
So didn't they cover in what we left behind a bit of that,
the growth,
the goal, but the goal of the executive team was to try and position him as that that sexy romantic
Yeah.
leading man.
But they realized soon enough that he needed some
That
seasoning.
didn't work. Yeah.
And I mean, I believe they didn't cover it in the doc, but I think I'd read it elsewhere that Siddig had actually auditioned for the Cisco role too, although he was not taken very seriously as getting that. But I mean, at the point he walked in, that's Malcolm McDowell's nephew, by the way, who played Sora, and we covered that last season, who killed Captain Kirk. So there's just a little bit of, he had a little Trek DNA going there through
Right.
that. Anyway, it's just interesting to me, though, that Julian becomes kind of the center of a wheel with all these spokes kind of going off of it, which is kind of nice that he developed that, considering how unlikable or at least uninteresting he might have been to people at the very beginning.
Right. Yeah. And it is interesting. I think the maturation of that character kind of starts this season.
Yeah,
So.
and he just gets better and better and better too. He became, by season 4 or 5, he became one of my top 3 favorite characters on the show. And
Nice.
which, by the way, we're gonna do an episode. We're gonna do like our top 10s on a variety of things about DS9. If you can stick with us till the holiday season, folks, when we got 13 more episodes to go of this season, and then what we're going to do, we're going to kind of coast for a little while and going into the holidays. I believe it'll be around the holiday time, and we're going to do some fun shows. We're going to do some shows just talking in general about the series, in general about Trek, maybe even talk a little bit about the JJ verse, and maybe even a little bit about Star Trek Discovery if I can get Brian to watch an episode or two. And there's some interesting things going on with that, but that's not for this show. But we'll talk more about that. There's something so fun in this episode in the casting. Itashira, I don't remember how Itishra, I don't know how you pronounce it, but she was an ambassador. She was with the ambassador from the Kelleran, I guess. She was the ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
She had kind of the Spock ears hair. It was like hair that looked like big ears. That actress caught my eye, and I think she caught your eye too. And I kept thinking, she looks so familiar.
Right.
And then it occurred to me.
Pickled egg, please.
TC? No. Come on, can't you come up with another joke? I mean, 3 days in a row? Besides, you know I hate to fish those stinky things out. I hate them.
Pickled egg, please.
What the hell are you doing? We have a store full of customers. Why aren't you watching them?
Because I'm watching this, Ms. Wilcox. Please, not now. There. 59.
How stupid of me. I must have forgotten my wallet.
TC?
Now, if you're listening to that going, what the F was that? Well, Brian and I, that is one of our favorite gags from one of our favorite shows. Which, and another show, by the way, that who knows?
We might cast about.
We might. Magnum P.I., the original.
The original.
Not the,
yes.
not the dreadful, soulless remake.
Yeah.
Magnum P.I., and there's an episode entitled Limited Engagement, and that was, it was season 4, episode 5. Magnum, Private Eye, he's playing undercover. He's at a
grocery store.
The little convenience stores, really. Day and Dark, is that what they call them? And he's, anyway, that scene there, he was behind the register and his friend TC came in. And the woman you hear berating Magnum is played by Darlene Carr, who played the ambassador in this episode. Mm-hmm. And I thought I had this little nugget all to myself, and I was going to spring it on Brian. Because literally, sometimes just when we're in a mood, I'll just text Brian with pickled egg, please. Or I'll send the video on YouTube to him, and I'll wait a few months, and he's like opening the video going, what is it? Oh, okay, it's the pickled egg again. Here we go. But it's just what we do. And so it's just a thrill. So then I'm getting ready for the show, and I'm like, I've got a really juicy tidbit here. And you go, and he's already texted me, and I just look, and what do you say? You're like, here you go, buddy. It's the pickled egg.
I said I'd let you do the honors, because I sent a still picture of her over
Magnum
over
shoulder
Tom
there.
Selleck's shoulder
At the store, right after the pickled
in the
egg
store.
scene. It's right after the pickled egg scene. And ironically, what's funny, that episode was on Cozy TV 2 days ago, and I was home, working at home, eating my lunch on the couch, and when I'm at home working, I allow myself a TV every now and then during my lunch period there, which I give myself, and I turn it on, and there's Magnum, which I love, and it's the limited edition, and it's a pickled egg scene.
That's perfect.
It's just perfect. It just tells you that there are no accidents, that there is synchronicity in this world. So I thought that bit of casting was fun, just to remind me of the pickled egg. And I mean, I don't know if the role was all that interesting for her, but
not particularly. Yeah.
I mean, she was probably like, it's a paycheck, kind of thing.
Yeah, gotta pay some bills. So without further ado, any Latinum thoughts?
I found Armageddon game to be thoroughly enjoyable. I wasn't on the edge of my seat, even though the stakes were fairly high, obviously.
Right.
But I thought it was handled well, and I liked it. So all in all, I'm going to give this one 3.5 bars of Latinum.
All right.
How about you?
I would go maybe a little less than that.
Because of the Keiko joke at the end?
Yeah, that hurt it a bit, but I'm right at a 3 for me. 3 bars.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it was a lot of great character development and relationship development between Miles and Julian. That I think where it struggled was, I never thought that they would be that they were in any real danger. There wasn't they're not gonna make it out. I didn't feel that.
Stakes weren't that high. It didn't seem the stakes
weren't as high as they were. You've got a dying guy, you've got an army full of people looking for it, all wanting them dead, and yet at no time did I think, this is their last episode on this in the series. And
it wasn't like Tasha Yar getting killed by the oil slick, where you're totally surprised.
Right. So that's it. Any final thoughts?
Just fun as ever. I won't repeat everything we said at the beginning. I don't want to wear people out with that. And we're going to go a little long on this episode. And here I am. It's always the ones where I think we'll be done in 20 minutes that we go on. But we got a little goofy here and there, and that's okay too, because we always have fun doing that. I think we're good. I think that it was an enjoyable episode, and I liked it so much. But I'm going to tell you something. O'Brien's travails have only just begun. And next week, we're going to be talking about yet another, where upon returning from a mission to the Parada system, O'Brien begins to notice the crew acting strange around him and suspects there may be some unknown influence at work when we look into and listen for whispers.
Interesting. I did forget to mention the 57th rule of acquisition. Good customers are as rare as Latinum.
Treasure them. That was, yes, of course. So that was Quark's contribution to this episode. How could we not have mentioned our mascot? All right. Well, that sounds good. Thanks for the Latinum, my friend, and I look forward to whispering and chattering about whispers next week.
All right. Until next time, the docking ring is closed.